Inching ever so close to episode 100. If they'll have us, I don't know. My contract might run out before we get to
that's tough. 100? Think about that.
Yeah, we're still about, this is 87, so we're still a good dozen weeks away. So
I've read, I can't remember what that stat is, like how many never get past 12 weeks.
Oh, how many podcasts don't get past 12 weeks?
Yeah.
12 weeks?
Now, granted, we are kind of subsidized by the ACL. We're not having to pay for everything ourselves, blah, blah, blah. Not that there's much into it, but yeah, not many get past 12 weeks. Like it's something crazy, like 75%.
Oh my God. Well, that's impressive then. I mean, to be on 87 to me sometimes feels big, sometimes it doesn't. But if the average is 12,
I think people realize, like, most people that don't have a podcast like ours that are trying to do their own podcast that are basically subsidizing it through advertising. You get through 12 weeks and you don't have any advertisers, you're pretty much done. Right. So we haven't had that issue yet. However, should be some folks coming down the line here pretty soon, Jeff.
Well, you really need to have, it really takes a team to do a podcast. I mean, because you're right. Because during COVID, I did one on my own. And it was great. It was, a fun way to pass the time and be able to reconnect with a lot of old friends and broadcaster buddies and athletes that I've worked with in the past. But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, once work started again, then the fun was over. Then you got to get paid. So you almost really need, at least 3 people. You need to have a host. You really need a co-host too. I think that makes it better when you have at least 2. So you need a host, you need a co-host, you need someone to do your marketing, in social media. And then the biggest thing is you need someone out there making calls and selling it and bringing in some sort of money. So
it has to be monetized at some point.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, so you want to do a little Meet Jeff and Bernie to start? So again, for the second week in a row, if we had done this podcast in the morning, I would have been a totally different person than I was in the afternoon or evening, as was the case last week. So, and I'm only going to talk about this a little bit because I'm a little bit unstable emotionally right now. So Noelle goes to college on Saturday. And even though she's going right up the road, right? She's going to Coastal Carolina, and I'm so happy for her. I mean, it's literally 2 hours door to door from my house with traffic. Yeah. At night I can probably get there quicker, but
she's essentially directly in between us, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, she's 2 hours away. And so I guess I kept telling myself, that's no big deal, and especially with me being up there and doing football games and basketball and I'm like, okay, I'll be fine. And man, I think it's just the symbolism. Like we went to church. I mean, our thing is every Sunday when I'm in town, we always go to church. Like as busy as our weeks get, we always go to church together. We always get together for dinner a couple of times. There's always just a few things that we do. So we went to church for the first time or for the last time, like before she goes to college. And of course, the pastor's up there and he's like, all right. He's like, how many people out there got to take their son or daughter to college this week? And I'm like, really? I'm like, this is how we're starting? I'm like, I'm coming here to try and feel better. And, but it was great. So obviously that's what the sermon was about. And so I was practically losing it during church. Right. I mean, and she put her head on my shoulder and I'm like, because even though she's 18, she's still she's the last. I mean, she's my baby girl, and man, it's tough, dude. It's really hard. I keep telling her, I'm like, because she'll lose it too from time to time, and she's in the process of saying goodbye to each one of her friends. Like one of her friends is a big track star who got scholarship to go to Clemson, and she left today. We're recording this on a Tuesday this week, so she left to go to Clemson today to start workouts and start checking in, all that kind of stuff. So they had to say goodbye. So she's slowly, like Noelle's the last one to leave, right? So she's slowly having to say goodbye to each one of her friends.
I
so
remember
every
that.
day. Yeah. And I told her, I said, Noelle, this is actually a really good thing because this means that you had an awesome high school career, right? With great friends, great memories. You've really made awesome memories. And yeah, it reminds me of guys like you and Stacy because like me, I kind of bounced around a little bit, although I shouldn't say that. I mean, I guess in high school, I grew up in Iowa City, so I grew up in the same place. But I felt like I had really good high school relationships, but I feel like you and Stacy were really close. Like I feel like you guys had a really good core group, and that's the way Noelle is. She just has a really core group. Like you could make a movie off of
Sure. Yeah.
like, what this means is that you had a great time, and you're going to miss each other. So
Yeah, it was tough. I mean,
I
the
bet
beauty of growing up in North Carolina is the amount of schools there are, like really, really good colleges and universities in North Carolina. So everyone was like only like 45 minutes away from each other, but yet going to these amazing schools. So it really wasn't as bad for us as I think it could be for others, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was at Elon, I get in the car 30 minutes, I'm at Chapel Hill, 45 minutes, I'm on the campus at NC State. You know what I mean? So we were all like right in this really small area in a bunch of different schools, but it was hard. I remember saying goodbye to some friends that I knew that were going away.
Yeah.
And that was tough.
Yeah. It's really hard as a parent. I really thought I was going to be okay. I really did. And it started with the whole church thing. I think it's just I don't know, almost like the symbolism of it or something like that.
Sure. I never had kids. I can't quite identify with it, but I get it. It makes sense. I've seen my other friends go through it. It's a lot of things. Your child is an adult, right? They are now officially out of the house.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. Yep.
More often than not, if they're not like me, they're probably not coming home. You know what I mean? Like they're probably gone. From now on.
Okay. Let's not be too harsh.
You're going to see them so few times.
I know all these things, right? They all start going through my head because you're right.
It also means you're older.
Yeah, that could be part of it too. Yeah, well, I mean, I know you're right, but yeah, that could be in the back of my head. Yeah. But she was, and I don't want to get too sappy and emotional, but she was also, I mean, I've had it may seem, contrary to popular belief, I didn't have the best. Again, this is tough, right? We got to be careful how much we say, but things weren't always, peachy keen. Sure. And we've been through some times, but at the end of the day, it was always me and Noelle. Like we always were so similar, and she really became not just my daughter, and I had to correct her as her dad from time to time, but she was a friend. And to say goodbye to your I gotta stop talking now. To say goodbye to your friend is tough. So hard week, tough week. I really didn't think I'd have to process all this, but it's tough.
It'll be good though, man. And like you said, you've got a leg up on a lot of people. You're going to see her. When you're really going to get mad is when you go up to do a game and she's going to be too busy.
I'm already preparing myself for that. She's going to be
in town. You want to grab dinner? Well, Dad, we're doing this.
Yeah. What would be worse is if she says, well, Steve and Mark and me. I'm like, whoa, huh? What?
Well, huh?
Yeah. That'll end up being.
That's probably happening within the next year or so, that this guy is going to be coming around a lot more.
Yeah.
I'm sure she had boyfriends in high school.
She didn't.
Get out.
She's never had she's had some interests, but she's never had like a serious boyfriend.
That generation's a little more like that though, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's because and honestly, if he was sitting right here, I would say the same thing. So I don't think he gives his feelings hurt by this, but her older brother was not the best example of a teenage boy and how they should act and what they should do. So I think he was kind of a cautionary tale for her. So I think, and they're very close in age. So I think she heard a little bit too much and saw too much. And I think this would be good for her to get away and maybe be around some different.
That's funny.
Male.
That's funny. I mean,
that's about as kind of a way as I can say this right now. Because I'm telling you, if we could just do this the way we wanted to do it. Oh,
I mean,
money, dude.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. It wouldn't be money.
I mean, it would be tough to, family dinners would be tough, but it'd be more interesting.
Yeah.
I apparently have no problem saying people's names. It gets me in all kinds of trouble.
No, that's not true at all.
It does. Gets me in all kinds of trouble.
No.
But I think it's cool, man. All of my friends have gone through it in one way or another, as far as their kids going off to college. And
yeah, it's tough.
Dads are different. Certain dads are different. I have friends like you and some others that get very emotional over it. And I had some other friends that, they hate when their child's gone, but it's also like, that scene in Braveheart, like freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see the difference. I mean, I think all the moms are kind of the same that I know. All my female friends that have their kids have gone away, it's been those really sad interactions. But some of the dads, some of my guy friends. I mean, look, I'm sure that day is that. I remember going to college. Do you not remember going? I remember my mother and my buddy Steven's mother crying, and Steven's dad just sitting there like, here's an extra little bit of money. Y'all go find somebody, get some beer. Like, all right, ladies, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember like it was yesterday. I mean, I literally remember packing my stuff up, and my mom, we took 2 cars to Lawrence. It was a 5-hour drive from Iowa City to Lawrence. And we took 2 cars because I had quite a bit of stuff that I was taking in my dorm room, and took two cars down. I think I've told the story before. We go down, and a real quick story. So we go down there, and my mom might not have. So my mom, we're gonna edit this part out. So my mom left a little bit earlier than my dad. My dad decided to stick around. And my dad hung around for several days, finally to the point where he's trying to introduce me to. I mean, my dad is the Progressive commercial. He is the Progressive commercial. I'm telling you, Bertie, you're going to meet him one of these days. He's the guy. He's pointing out all the hazards. He's the guy where as we're walking into the football game, where are we going to meet after the third quarter? And the Progressive coach says, let's not talk about leaving the game before we actually get to the game. That was my dad. All right, let's meet here. Let's meet at section E, parking space, whatever. That was my dad. Anyway, so my dad decided to stay. Well, I mean, so finally I'm like, okay, Dad, I got this. And so years later, I asked him, I'm like, why didn't you just go when Mom went? My dad works so much, and I appreciate him so much for that. And I think I've told you that before. Yeah. I mean, we wanted for nothing, really. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's not like we were, extremely wealthy, but really pretty much anything I wanted within reason, we would get. We'd have to work for some of it, but we get it. So I appreciate that. But my dad told me, he said, I work so much because he worked nights and weekends and holidays and everything. He said, I worked so much that I realized when I dropped you off that, after 18 years, I really didn't even know who you were. Like, it was fun to hang out, just the two of us and do dinners and hang out with the new friends that we had met. And it kind of reminded him of when he was going to college. So it was kind of a cool moment. But man, we're getting deep. You ready?
Well,
should we talk some cornhole or something?
Well, you know what I feel bad about with the cornhole community? There's this whole world, there's this whole viewpoint now that college is meaningless, right? Like, well, college didn't make anybody smarter, blah, 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 blah. They're missing the point of college. I know where you're going with this. Yep. If you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, yes, college makes a lot of sense because you have a very specified work that you want to go into, and college is absolutely necessary. But it teaches you things. It teaches you socialization. It teaches you ways to deal with other people you may not like, because that's the work world. That's the real world, right? You've got to learn how to get along with people you don't like, because you're coming out of high school and you're basically with people that you like. That's who you're hanging around. That's your group of friends. College kind of teaches you more than just the study part of college and the theory of whatever you're going into. There's a lot there. Now, too much for me. It was way too much fun to be had in college. I had every bit of it. Every second of it that was there to have, I had it. Yeah. But there's more to college than just the books. And I think there's a segment in society that's kind of missing out on that. And it opens doors that are not open otherwise.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. You learn a lot about life in those 4 years. I also agree with the point that you don't need to have a college degree.
Necessarily need it.
I have plenty of friends who are here who didn't go to college. I have plenty of friends who are here who did, and many of them have ended up in the same spot. Sure. Very, very successful. They've made a lot of money. They've taken care of their families. So there's different ways to get different paths. So I get that, but I am totally on board with you, and I've talked to Noelle about this. It is a privilege to go to a 4-year school. Like, that means, you are being rewarded for all of your hard work. She's getting a little bit of scholarship money, which is nice. Yeah. But she worked hard for it. Right. And not everyone can just get accepted to or have the means to just go to a 4-year school. Sure. It's a privilege. And she's earned it. She really has earned it. And I'm excited for her. And you're right. She is going to learn a lot. about being around different people. I think you learn about structure on your own. For the first time, she's not going to have me or her mom. I mean, she was always pretty good anyway, but, getting her up in the morning, making sure that, she's, doing all the things that she has to do, make sure that she studies, make sure she's home on time, all these things that you have to learn when you're on your own. She's going to have to learn and do for the first time. And I think, like you're saying, I think that's a huge life lesson.
Yeah. I mean, look, and I know there's people, well, you can do that when you turn 18, you graduate high school, you get a job doing this, you get out on your own, get your own apartment. I hear it. I get it. College gives you something different, because those people that go and do that are still hanging out with the same people they've always hung out with.
There's instant consequences.
They've never branched out and had to deal with people they don't like.
Yeah.
Until, and it's just, that's college. I mean, you're stuck in areas around people. You have to learn how to meet people because you don't know anybody there. You have to learn how to meet people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. You have to learn how to work with them. You have to learn so much that's not just what you learn in a book.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's, I hate that there's a segment of society that thinks college is a waste of time. I really do. And I didn't take advantage of it. I did not in any way take advantage of the opportunities I was given. I learned a lot, but I didn't learn what I should have.
Yeah.
But the fact that there are still people out there that think it's a waste of time, that's unfortunate. It really is, because they're different people. The kid that you send away at 18 is not the same kid at 22. They're not.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that people don't see that, Yeah.
You're going to make me cry.
I'm
not crying on the podcast.
Oh, it's early yet. It's early. We're only 17 minutes in, buddy. We got a long way to go. We'll get those tears out of you.
Hey, you know what I am? Here's a good transition for you. You know what I am crying about and I'm upset about, and I was just thinking about you the other day as I'm going to take a total 180 on you here. And then there are some serious cornhole things that I've got to get to with you before our time runs out. So I don't know what's going on with me, and I wanted to bounce. I couldn't wait to bounce this off you this week, because we've had this conversation before about USFL football and XFL and all these other spinoffs, right? Mm-hmm. Bernie, I don't know what it is. I don't know what's happened to me. I don't know if maybe I am getting old. I don't know if I'm the only one or not. I tried to watch some preseason football. It does nothing for me. It is not moving the needle at all. I don't know why all of a sudden, why can't I love football. Why I couldn't watch the USFL like you were saying this summer. I couldn't watch the XFL. It did nothing for me. I really didn't enjoy it at all. And watching the preseason.
Wait. Did you watch that Panthers-Jets game? That's part of the problem. That was one of the worst exhibitions of football I've ever seen.
I watched some of it, and Bryce Young is going to get killed.
Exactly.
He's going to get killed. The offensive line was disgusting, and I mean, I could not watch any of it. I watched maybe a grand total of, I'll say, 30 minutes.
I watched the whole game
of preseason football so far, and I can't do it. I changed it. I watched, for God's sakes, we watched reruns of Chicago PD instead of preseason football.
I'll tell you why I'm excited. I'm back in North Carolina. I actually get to watch the Panthers again. I don't know if that's a good thing. Not really.
Yeah, it hasn't been.
In Atlanta, you never get to see it.
Yeah,
right. So growing up in Charlotte, I grew up a Steelers fan, oddly enough. But then when we got the team, I became, hometown gets an NFL team. How are you not a fan, right? So I became a Panthers fan. I got bigger and bigger into it when I moved back to the Charlotte area. And so moving away and not being able to watch them ever kind of sucked, quite frankly. Yeah. And so here I'm back in North Carolina, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, every Panthers game is going to be on TV now. I get to watch every game. So I was excited.
High water.
I was excited, and then I watched 2 possessions and was like,
terrible.
That kid has got something, but he's never going to last. He won't last 4 games with that.
He's going to get hurt. Yeah, he's going to get hurt. He's going to get pancaked by somebody, which he did this past week. Yeah. And he's going to get hurt. It's going to be a collarbone. It's going to be a rib. It's going to be a hip. It's going to be something. He got absolutely crushed. But I don't want to give away my on, off, and in segment, but it kind of transitions into my on, off, and in. We can talk about it later. But I think a lot of it has to do is that we know what greatness looks like. We know what it's supposed to look like, and to watch something at a subpar level. I'd love to hear from people. I wish
it's preseason, and I get preseason is not, especially the first game. Especially the first game of preseason is always going to be awful, right? They've only been in
Yeah.
camp, 2 weeks, 3 weeks max? So the first game is always just brutal, right? And it was just especially brutal if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, which most of the people watching this are not. So they don't care. But it was, for me, it was good to see football back. I got to be honest with you. It was kind of cool to see the kickoff. I was really into the fact that it was there. Now, it was on. Was I completely invested in every play? No.
Yeah.
I mean, got way too much screen time with this. We were playing call, just packing, unpacking, moving stuff around, but it was on and I was excited. So I disagree with you a little bit. I'll watch every game.
Okay. So that's good. That makes me know that it's just me being just an old man. Fantastic.
I mean, look, but I'm not going to watch every preseason game like I'm going to watch regular season games.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to sit down and be completely invested in what I'm watching. I mean, if we're going to talk about something else while the game's on, cool. If we're going to move stuff around, play cards, whatever, right? But the game's still going to be on.
One more football thing for you. Then we got to move on.
Yeah. I've got some more in my in off and on too. So
I feel like it has been so long since we've seen a college football game.
It has been.
I mean, are we to the point? Like I just heard somebody recently. I've always wanted a I don't know if I've wanted 16 team playoff, but I've always wanted a 10 or 12 game playoff. Do some playing. Yeah, and so that was my point. So I think it was an article I read that 16 is coming, but some people were pushing back because the season's too long. I want more college football, and I don't think nowadays that it is going to be too long. Like I feel like by the time, because the first few weeks, I don't know if you've seen the schedule. The first few weeks, I mean, there's a few games here or there. There's a lot of freaking stinkers. There's a lot of stinkers. I mean, it's really not going to get good until September. That basically gives us, last week or two of September, October, and then you get a few games in November, and that's done. And then it's a bunch of meaningless bowl games that no one watches anymore. Your top 4 teams for the FCS or for the FBS, and then it's over. Like, I'm fine with some more college football, aren't you?
Yeah, with expansion, with the way the conferences are realigning, we'll get to 16 pretty quick, actually.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But yeah,
seriously, it's been a long time.
It has been, and this time of year is the hardest for me as a sports fan. I'm just not the biggest baseball fan. I liked it fine as a kid. But it just doesn't move the needle for me. Oh, I got to watch the Braves, or I got to watch. I could care less, right? Yeah. So that means my summer is basically what we do for work, right? And then a couple of golf tournaments that I'm really interested in, seriously, and then waiting, like pulling my teeth to get to football season.
Yeah, that's
because everything's better in football season. I don't care what people say.
I know. Yeah, the weather's better. I mean, this goes back to everything's about first class. Everything's better. The air is better. Literally,
everything's better in football.
We can't breathe in Charleston right now. I mean, the heat index outside is like 112. It's brutal. It's just the humidity is awful.
Yeah, I moved technically north, but it feels. I forgot the humidity when you get this close to the ocean.
Yeah.
And if you're not on the ocean with that breeze, oh man, it is just sitting on us right now. Yeah, it's brutal.
All right, cornhole.
Yes.
So I can't give any details, but on a serious note, I got a very exciting phone call this week. And next week on the show, I meant to say this before we came on the way, by the way, so I don't mean to just drop this on you. Next week on the show, we are going to have a huge announcement out of Team Lucky. So I know there's a lot of shifting going around right now, and a lot of talk about shifts being made between players.
Yeah.
We have an actual signing and a big announcement coming out of Team Lucky.
Right on.
Next week.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, we're going to try and see. We may need to do a special one-off little.
I think we do
that we send to Rosie and she posts it and we just put it on social. But
we need to do one. We need to do a signing show. So hopefully everyone out there. Hopefully everyone that's watching right now involved in the cornhole business, whether you're a bag manufacturer, whether you're a player, make this your show. Make this your show because there's obviously, if the rumors are correct, we're going to see some unbelievable pairings this year.
Yeah, Yeah, this is a big one. Mike is really. I mean, Mike Hennessy is really, obviously, made a huge splash last year.
Sure.
He's at it again this year. So it's a big one for Lucky. So that's that. Unfortunately, that's all I can say. But we'll have more.
No, I'm glad. That's exciting.
We'll have more next week. Yep. One more quick cornhole thing for you. So I was thinking about this, because World's always so exciting, right? And so much fun. But the level of play in the semifinals, like we talked about, what wasn't great. Whether it was just a bad day for certain players or I don't know. I was going to ask you.
A bad day for a bad day, right?
Yeah, and it happens, right? But then I started thinking about it, and I don't know where I sit on this, so I'm just throwing this out here, like I always do, right? I'm just throwing shit out there. Should we as a league, and again, I'm just a 1099. So when I say we, I'm not involved in these conversations, but should the ACL, should we, the ACL, look at maybe tweaking the schedule last year? Would you? And again, I'm just throwing this out there, and I figured I'd throw it out to you first. I haven't even talked to Trey about it. Should we do something more like we do during the regular season, like play the singles world championship final the same day that singles is, the same day that they qualify for it, so that are we more likely to get really high level play and get a true champion? Not that Jamie's not a true champion. He was playing terrific at the end of the year. So again, don't twist my words on this, anybody. I'm just saying, would we get a higher level of play? Would we get a better championship? Would we get better contests if we just kept it rolling? Or if we did singles on a Thursday, right? And then take it all the way down to the bracket finals, do an Elite Eight all the way down to a champion on Friday. Because here's what happened this week. We did singles qualifying one day, doubles qualifying the next, singles championship day 3, and then doubles championship day 4. So really, it was kind of it really kind of lost its momentum if you were really hot. I mean, I don't know if that matters. Real quick, let me just play devil's advocate real quick. In other sports, you gotta wait a week. And golf is probably the only one where you can go day to day to day.
But it's day to day. You're still playing different days. I mean, how you played on Thursday has no effect on how you play Friday and Saturday.
That's why I'm just throwing it out. That's why I'm just throwing it out there. And I'd love to talk to a player about it. I don't know if that would help. If that would help them. If it would help, the viewer. If it would.
I think the players would love it, because if you're hot that day, you're going to be hot that night, right?
Yeah.
But
and would everyone continue that momentum?
Yeah, I don't know. In every other sport on the planet, there is a way. Right. I mean, so why can't our players, or cornhole players specifically, why can't they do it if everyone else in the world can?
Yeah. And then it got me thinking about and again, I don't mean to put it on. I'm just mentioning his name. I don't mean to put, because Mark didn't have a great day either. I don't mean to put this on Tony. Tony obviously had a chance, for the third time in a row, had a chance to win doubles and singles, and it just didn't happen for him. So does it force Tony? Does it force Fisher? Does it force all these other guys who were in the finals? Gavin came up empty. Does it force them to maybe rethink what they're doing, and don't for a 1:00 broadcast, don't show up at 12, like show up at 10. Are they going to have to be like if you have a playoff game at 1:00, right? I don't care what sport, basketball, football, whatever. You're getting there 3 hours beforehand, right? And maybe even a little bit earlier. Getting something to eat, you're talking shop, you're getting the juices flowing, and then you're warming up, you're going through whatever your routine is, and then play for a while. I mean, when those football players warm up, they're sweating. They're sweating, right? And maybe I don't know. Maybe the players need to do that. I don't know.
It's so tough.
Tony and Gavin and Fisher and all those guys. Maybe they got to show up 3 hours early. I don't know.
I think the problem is we also need to get with the production crew on this, because one of the problems, and you hear it from the players, is I can go warm up on the other boards, but they're nothing like the broadcast boards, and we only get 10 minutes at best to work out and practice on the broadcast boards. So yes, we can come and we can throw all day on all these other boards, but it's not the same thing. It's not going to be as fast. The other boards are just different. The broadcast, the way the lights work and everything, those boards aren't as old, haven't been used as much. do we get them more time on those boards, right? I don't know exactly how we have to do that. Can they come in that much earlier? Can we have the lights on? You know what I mean? Like there's more to it than that. And I think the players get frustrated. And I can tell this past weekend or 2 weekends ago, a couple of them were extraordinarily frustrated by the fact that, here we are, we're playing for these championships, and you give me 3 minutes to warm up on these boards that are so very different from every other board in the building.
Yeah, when we're out in California, maybe I'll pick around a little bit. Like even Caleb and Eddie, who didn't play badly. I mean, Eddie had a tough matchup a couple times, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd like to talk to all those guys and ask and get their thoughts. And I mean, they may look at me, and my guess is they probably will, and say that had nothing to do with it. Whether we played the night of qualifying the next day, we should have been able to do it regardless. Yeah, they may say that, but they may agree. They may say, yeah, I would rather play it either the same day or the next day, because they had to wait 2 days.
Yeah, this year
singles was day A, and I don't know what day in the championship. So
I think it was Thursday. It was Thursday and Friday.
You had singles qualifying, then doubles qualifying the next whole day, and then you didn't play your singles championship until basically 48 hours later.
Yeah, it's
just throwing it out there.
I don't have a problem with it. I think the players would love it, because if you're hot that day, you're going to be hot, right? You're not taking a night off.
And that's what I'm saying about Tony. And again, I hate to sound like I'm picking on Tony, because I'm not. When we saw him during singles qualifying, I can't remember if he was in your bracket.
No. I never saw him. I never saw him play.
Bernie, I'm telling you, he was on a different level. And I'm sure you heard that. I mean, I don't think anyone. I mean, Jamie was hot too. I mean, he was making a hell of a run.
See, he was in my bracket, and I saw him play better than I've seen him play in years. So
I would love to have seen Tony and Jamie, go at it right there.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been great, and that would have been good TV. I don't know how that works. The planning in that, and then you had the Ocho Day that Friday where everyone was running around like crazy. It's just there's so much other stuff going on in the World Championships. I'm with you, but at the same time, if we're going to force them to play on different days, we've got to in my opinion, we've got to give them more time on the broadcast court, because
I guess that's all I'm saying. Yeah,
basketball, for example, you get a pretty good shoot around on those days in that new arena, right? That you get time to warm up. You get a pretty good amount of time on that court to practice. Whereas we basically are playing the same boards out there, even on the streaming courts, are essentially the same boards that you're getting everywhere else in the arena. And then broadcast is different, completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that's tough. And I don't think we give them enough time to acclimate. Now, I'm sure there's arguments that would come from our production crew, our production staff, and everyone else that says, it's just right now it's not feasible considering everything that we have to do to get everything TV ready. I get it. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if we want optimal level play, it would be best for them to get more time on the broadcast court. But to your point, originally, they would need to show up earlier. They would need to be dedicated to do that. So
yeah, and I guess that could be just another example of just having to deal with it, because like I think about 2 years ago when Derek and I went to the Final Four. I'm not just saying this. I'm not saying this because it was the Kansas North Carolina final. I'm just saying it's because I was there. So,
I'm listening to you.
I promise I'm not. I promise I'm not. But I really am not. So Kansas plays Villanova in game 1, right? And then 30 minutes later, who's got to jump on the court without playing on that court hardly at all, right?
Yeah.
You've got North Carolina and Duke. So how much did those guys actually get to play?
We had a 20-minute warm-up period. This is what I mean.
And that 20
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of going against, what we were talking about in the beginning, but so maybe it's just something the players just have to deal with because they do in other sports. But like North Carolina and Duke, I mean, you had to sit there and watch Kansas and Villanova play. You maybe got on the court earlier in that morning. You had basically 20 or 30 minutes to warm up, and boom, you're in front of 60,000 people playing on a court that you're not used to playing on. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is.
The Final Four is tough. I mean, they've done all kinds of research on the shooting percentages in the Final Four now that they've gone to these big football arenas and made them basketball arenas. that the shooting percentages are way down because obviously the sight lines for players is so much more difficult than playing in a regular, even big college gymnasium. And
it's crazy being down there.
Yeah, the shooting percentages are way down because it's just tougher. Your eyes have a hard time acclimating. And, you know, if you gave those kids a couple of days to get used to it, then maybe they could. But like you're saying, you're just kind of throwing. I mean, now they get shoot-arounds, but those shoot-arounds are different than when it's full.
Yeah.
But every sport has to go through some sort of adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say bowling. Bowling is a niche sport. They have to adjust to different lanes for the finals that might not have the same oil patterns, that might not have, and they have to adjust. I mean, and being that good and being a professional means you kind of have to adjust. You have to be able to move your talents to what you're given to play with, right? Yep. You can't get stuck in the mindset, well, this just doesn't work for me, so I'm done. And I think we've seen that a couple of times for people, but.
Yeah, maybe the way is like you were talking about. I mean, the players just need to show up earlier. I mean, if they truly want to be there to win a championship,
but the production crew
like other sports, and get there with the trainer. I mean, at some point,
the production crew is very stingy.
Or with the mentor.
Yeah, the production crew is very stingy with those courts. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if we brought them in 3 hours early, would they let them play on that court with the lights? Because they have to do all they have to do to get the lighting right. Blah blah blah. I would think having players play on that would be the perfect way to do that, but I don't know.
Even if they had played upstairs on the boards, let's say you got to be, let's say you got a world championship game at 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you come in at 10, you get warmed up, go through some calisthenics, whatever you do, grab a snack, whatever you do. I mean, I wouldn't come in by myself. I'd come in with somebody who's going to be a someone good to hold you, basically kind of your accountability mentor. And even if you just started throwing and working out on the boards up there, that's got to help you, right? Even I get it. It's not the same, but maybe, I don't know, to your point, maybe that'd be counterproductive.
I think the players would argue against that, Jeff. I would say the players think that's fine. It gets your arm loose, but the bags react differently to the broadcast boards. And so you've essentially spent all this time getting used to that. And then you've got 3 minutes to get used to something completely different.
Yep.
To you and me, I don't think we would notice that much of a difference.
Yeah, maybe not.
But for players of that level, I think they notice a huge difference. Kind of like you give Tiger Woods in his heyday inning iron and he can hit it well, but you give him the ones that he has specifically made for him and he's going to pure it every time, right? So it's a little different. I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question, to be honest. I don't know if there is a perfect answer.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is, and again, we'll hit it coming up and on, off, and in. So that's kind of the reason I brought it up. Before we get to that, by the way, 2 minutes, just real quick, and then we got to move on, off, and in before we get out of here. Who in the world set these matchups for the Pro Invitational? Because as I was going down Trey's tweet,
we picked him last night.
I'm like, oh man, that's good. Oh,
so you didn't watch it? You didn't watch it. So she had the girls' names in a bowl, and I had the guys' names in a hat. She would. It
was really at random.
Yeah, she would pick hers, and then I would pick mine. It was completely random.
I didn't know if this was going to be like teams where they were picked, or if you were actually doing it randomly. But I was looking at these, and I told you, I was joking before we came on. I was just giddy, like looking at it. I'm like, these are all so good. All these matchups, like. I mean, I maybe have 3 or 4 favorites, maybe. I mean,
and the bracket was set by that.
Jamie and Cheyenne, yikes.
That the bracket was set by that too. So the first 2 names were the top of the bracket. Next 2 names were who they played, and so the bracket filled that way too. So it was literally done at random. We had people, like wanting to see my hands, claiming that I was like looking in and like picking out names that I wanted.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, and so I'm like, so we had to kind of show them our hands as we picked the. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it was.
These are good. I mean, Mark and Rosie. I mean, come on. I mean, they're all good. Literally, they're all good. I was going down this. I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing.
I had Tony Smith and Miranda playing Jamie and Cheyenne in the final.
In the finals, yeah. I
mean, I could easily see Tony and Miranda losing to Mark and Rosie. But I think the way that they both play could give them trouble if they're playing well.
Yeah.
Because she's going to stay down the middle, slide in. If Miranda's playing her game well, she could give Rosie fits. Because Rosie doesn't like playing with people that are going to make it dirty. She just doesn't. Yeah. And I think they could give them trouble. But I've got Jamie and Cheyenne winning it all.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we never talk about Caleb and Eddie. We never talk about them. I mean, that could be my with on, off, and in. That could be my off every week.
But Caleb's playing with Yeti, right? Is that who he's?
No, Caleb's playing with Kimberly. She made it to the World Championship final.
Yeah, I just don't know, man. I think it's tough for them. I think it's because I even said last night. I know you say that, but the two teams that I thought of the 8, the 2 that I felt didn't have a chance were with Kimberly and Elizabeth.
Huh,
and those are the 2 because for them to play that well for 3 straight games against people that are going to give them more stuff to look at, right? And I don't know. And to me, who's going to be throwing guys versus the girls? Because someone's going to do that. It's not just going to be guys throwing against the guys and the girls throwing against the girls. People are going to switch it up, trying to get points the way they can. And that's why I think Cheyenne is an advantage for Jamie, because he can throw her against any guy, and she's at the very least going to hold her own.
Hold her own, sure.
Where Jamie's going to make it hard for someone just shooting slide shots to get points. Yeah. And so I feel like that's an advantage that they have. But yeah.
Bottom line, when I saw that, I'm like, this is going to be great. Like, I cannot wait. I can't wait to watch that.
I would love, actually, now that I said what I said, I would love for Kimberly Glass or Elizabeth Tennyson to be in the finals, just to shut me up. I think it'd be great.
Well, then you've got an off the board for next week's segment.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we're 2 weeks away, right? So yeah, it's
2 weeks.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
all right. You ready?
Yep, let's do it. I don't even know how to do it.
All right, we only got about 6 or 7 minutes here. All right, all right. So doing on, off, and in. Did you like alternating? Your idea was to alternate last week.
Yeah,
you like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, well, let's do that again.
Do you want to start with off the board, or you want to start with in the hole?
I like going on, then off.
Oh, that's right.
And then freaking in the hole, man. Money.
All right.
Give me your on.
On the board, and I said this years ago, because of the way they're so folksy and down home, and they've never gotten big boy pants about how the sports world operates, the ACC will die because of it. And they've just been too wrapped up in this small town thought when you've got these major universities competing for major dollars, and they've never been forward thinking. Now, some things could fall their way and they could survive. But I said this years ago, I think the ACC dies because of their attitude. And
I still think you're right.
And because college basketball doesn't drive the bus. And there's still people within the ACC front office that thinks college basketball matters. And
it does at a few schools only.
No, but I mean, as far as conferences go, and as far as the money that the conferences make, it really doesn't matter. And so I feel like it will die. But I could also see it not happening. So that's my on the board. I'm not 100% sold on it, but I see it happening in the next 5 years.
All right. See, this is why we got to start the segment way earlier, because I got a lot to talk about on what you just said. Just a quick point to back you up. When the Big 12, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, was all of a sudden collapsing, right? No one wanted Kansas. There was rumors of every team in the Big 12 having a home. The one team that was an exception was Kansas, because their football team at the time and last year, kind of, but their football team is terrible. Historically, one of the losingest college football programs ever. Right. No one wanted them. Like, Kansas was looking at going to the Mountain West because, as you said, college basketball doesn't really move the financial needle for these people. Yeah. You know, not enough. Anyway, not yeah. So all right, now we're down to about 4 minutes. Anyway, all right. So my on is probably my other two will be pretty quick. So my on is the longest. But again, piggybacking off the things that we were talking about and why I brought up, did the players need more practice time before the championships? When someone turns on the TV, they want to see greatness. I talked about this from day one of the 2023 season. That's why I was afraid of the defensive game. People want to see professional sports, no matter what it is, played at the highest level. And they want to see something on TV that they can't do in their backyard. Right. And I feel like I'm on about this because of a text message I got. There's a buddy of mine. I've talked about him before. His name is Danny Johnson. Played college basketball at the College of Charleston and played at Clemson. Went to the NCAA tournament a couple times. Great athlete. And he's one of those guys. I mean, he's a dog, man. I mean, he just, when they were warming up, right? They literally would pick out guys on the other team. They'd start pointing at other guys, right? And I'm just telling you kind of the character that he is to kind of set this up. And they'd be pointing at players from the other team. Well, the other team would be like, man, why are you pointing at us? He's like, we're picking out who we're going to dunk on during the game. And the guy, to clean it up a little bit, the guy I picked is you. And sure enough, he'd go out at some point and he would dunk on this dude, right? I mean, he's just a competitor. But when he goes on the court, he wants to see and he wants to compete at the highest level. So he texted me while he was watching one of the replays of our broadcast, where I just happened to make that comment to Trey that I want to see greatness. We just happened to get into it during one of our national broadcasts. That's what I want to see. I want to see greatness. Everyone at home wants to see greatness. Put the bags in the hole. I don't care. I don't want to get into this again. I want to see bags in the hole. I want to see offense. I want to see big offensive numbers, something that people can't do in their backyard. So he texted me. He said, such a genuine comment out of you, bro. I want cornhole greatness to shine through every time I watch. And so he and I talked about it. We just went out for coffee the other day. He's like, I totally agree with you. When you turn on the TV, he doesn't want to see bags missing the hole. Even if that's a good strategy, it's not good TV. He wants to see the bags in the hole. He wants to see a high level. So he wants greatness. So again, because that text and because that conversation came from a basketball player, not a cornhole player, that's why I'm only going on the board and not in. But you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Yeah, I'll keep it there so we can finish. We'll go off the board. My off the board this year was Fisher Hamilton. I thought he would be good, and I thought he would battle for Rookie of the Year. I was wrong. I figured he might be top 25, maybe. Wrong. Was way wrong. The kid is an absolute machine. He's the big fish. I was wrong. I was absolutely 100% wrong. And you know, he's a top 10 player in the world. A couple breaks here and there. You're talking about maybe a top 2 or 3 player in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, so I was way off the board about Fisher Hamilton. So my bad, Fisher. You're the man.
And only 17, 18 years old.
yeah, 18.
All right. My off the board Keurig machine. Like, who knew, right? Like I'm a guy who I like to grind my beans. I really do. I like to do that. I like to hear it. I like to listen to it. I don't know, maybe that makes me weird. I like to grind my own beans, have that, and then dump it in. I like to make my own, pot of coffee, makes the house smell good, all that kind of stuff. So when we moved, Kathy's like, "You want a Keurig machine?" I'm like, "No, I don't want a Keurig machine." We decided to get a Keurig machine. Thing is freaking fantastic. Any time of the day, regular, decaf, whatever you want, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts. Put that thing in there, slam the thing.
Oh yeah, easy.
Hit start,
easy money.
and there's your coffee. I'm
easy money.
sold on this thing, man. Keurig machine. Who knew?
All right.
I was wrong. I was wrong about that. It's awesome.
All right. In the hole, I know we're limited on time. I'm actually going in the future. I have Cheyenne and Jamie winning the Pro Invitational. And I'm betting on it so much that I'm making it my in the hole.
Okay. All right. I like that. And now if you're dead wrong and they lose right away,
then I'll be my off the board.
Yeah. Now you're off the board to set up. And mine real quick, my in the hole is nerves. I didn't get a chance to talk about this last week, but you saw it at the end of the night. Shamar's talking to everybody. I went up just to say hi. He gives me a big old hug and he starts just chewing my ear, right, and telling me all kinds of stuff. And we had a great conversation. Shamar is so passionate about this game. But what he did say was, you saw when he was like, talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
He was like right in my ear about it. He's like, dude, that was nerve-wracking. He said, I can't believe it. He's like, of all these things that we do, it is, people don't realize how nerve-wracking it is to be up there. He's like, I was really nervous. And I don't think he'd mind me saying that. He's like, I really was nervous being up there. Now, because of who he is, he's able to
handle it,
get over that. But it's so funny because whether it was Jay Cutler, Sam Darnold going way back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alexander Madison, Deion Dawkins. Remember, Deion Dawkins said the exact same thing. Deion's a big dude, right? Offensive lineman, NFL, protecting Josh Allen. And he talked about how nerve-wracking it was. It's so funny, isn't it? Yeah. In a sport that seems so benign sometimes and people can joke about it, to throw into that 6-inch hole from 30 feet away, under the lights with people right on top of you, and the place is just dead quiet, right? It's hard. It's hard to do. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're Shamar Moore or whoever. We talk about it all the time, and that kind of validated what we talk about. Nerves
are tough, man. I don't see. Now granted, this is their expertise. So for Deion and Shamar and those other folks, it's not really their wheelhouse of expertise. So it's even going to be more nerve-wracking for them, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
How many
hard.
times have we all talked about the first time, even our professionals, the first time they go on the broadcast court is usually a struggle. Not everybody, but normally the first time you're on there is a struggle.
That's why it's in my hole. You talk about it, I talk about it, Trey talks about it, but to hear Shamar Moore, to hear Deion Dawkins, some of these guys talk about it, you know we're right about it. So all right, dude. Off to California this week. Or next week, I should say.
Next week, yeah. So we'll have one more before we go, I think, unless we wait. We'll have to do it Monday or Tuesday next week.
Yeah, and I'll get with you too about a big announcement coming up again with Team Lucky. So we might have a special one-off BoarderLine. So we'll talk about that next week as well.
Right on.
See you, dude.
All right,
thanks everybody for watching. See you.